Hey everybody, welcome back to Creative Sound the Podcast. This is your host Josiah here. I'm really excited to be hosting the second episode of season 1. It feels amazing. I hope everybody's having a wonderful week. I hope your day's going great. I hope your afternoon, morning, whenever you're listening to this, I hope that you guys are taking it easy and not working too hard, not stressing too much. And if you are, just know that I'm thinking of you and things are going to get better. It can't rain forever. So just know that if you're having a hard time, I'm sending good energy and good vibes your way. So let's dive right on into things today. As present Creative Sound tradition on the podcast show, we always start with the 411 after the greeting and intro. So let's dive right on into it. Ooh, it's the 411. It's the 411. Okay, so today the 411 topic that I wanted to zoom in on is Umar Kamani's birthday party. And I'm very sorry, and I do apologize if I pronounced his name wrong. But apparently he is a big fashion designer, entrepreneur, just slash, he is that man. I've never heard of him until now, but shout outs to him and happy belated birthday. But what I wanted to focus on is his initial party, since this is kind of centered around music, but not directly. Chris Brown, Mario, Tank, Stevie Mackey, and Avery Wilson all performed at his birthday party, and their performances were amazing and beautiful and just full of energy, and the vocals were on point, as always. Those men, they're like all my favorite singers. I want to collab, some type of project. I don't know what we need to do to make it happen, but it needs to happen because I love all of them. I mean, Stevie Mackey, for him to be the celebrity vocal coach with the vocals that he got, woo, crazy. Avery Wilson, crazy talented. Mario, another one, crazy talented. Tank, crazy talented. Chris Brown, crazy talented. Everybody's just full of talent. So that's why it really did inspire me. Seeing that, it inspired me. It opened me up to something that I feel like this generation kind of needs to see more often. We need to see unity more in the industry, especially for Black content creators, Black artists, Black entertainers. We all need to come together more often, and I really did enjoy seeing that. It was all very, very talented Black men all coming together, celebrating their songs, their legacy, and it was beautiful for me to see. I loved witnessing that. I love that type of representation. That's what I want to see. And let me just be correct here. I don't know. I don't want to say Stevie Mackey is doing that intentionally. I'm not saying that's his motive or anything, but I just see it a lot from him. Like, it just be talented Black people and they're all coming together with him, and I love seeing it. He always has Taco Tuesdays where basically if you can sing, then you're invited. And I really love that from him. He is the GOAT, and I do hope to have him as a vocal coach for myself one day, because he is that guy. He will tell you, this is what you're doing wrong. I done saw him in clips and videos and stuff working with people, and this man he's just somebody that I want to guide me. I want somebody with that talent and that range to guide me. So but manifestation is real, so I hope it happens one day. And that's our 411. So moving on to our main topic today, it's going to be various things. I'm going to have various points that I want to talk about today. The first one being where I think music is headed. The second one being who has the rights to your masters as an independent artist. The third one being, should you trust online producers and transactions? So let's dive right on into it. So the current state of music it kind of feels like in the music industry right now, currently speaking, it feels like pop is dominating. Pop and hip hop are the two main genres that I feel like are dominating right now. But they're both kind of in competition with themselves when you look at it, because hip hop isn't the traditional hip hop that we used to see in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. Now it's kind of deviating from that formula, and it's morphing into this more melodic style or melodic pocket, so to speak. And you have your artists like Rod Wave, your Trippie Reds, your Tekashi 6ix9ine, XXXTentacion's, rest in peace, I loved him. You have all of these amazing sounds that are intertwined with each other, and it kind of goes against the grain with traditional hip hop. And I noticed that not just celebrities, but a lot of people that I know in public or in passing, especially a lot of the OGs, they don't enjoy the sound. It just isn't what they grew up listening to, you know. And although I can agree with them that it sounds nothing like what they grew up listening to, I have to come over here and say, well, you can't bash people for having this sound, because that's the era that we're in. This whole sound where it's more melodic, this whole melodic style of rapping is the current era that we're in. Whether we like it or not, that's the current era that we're in with hip hop. It's just melodic rapping. So that's why I feel like R&B, even though we have dope artists out right now, R&B kind of gets the back seat, because people kind of feel like, well, I've heard people say this. They feel like, well, why do I need to listen to R&B if there's a dope melodic rapper that's singing and, you know, auto-tune is assisting him to hit notes and whatever. People feel like, why should I listen to an R&B artist if he's just going to use auto-tune and, you know, do the same exact thing? Because now they're both doing the exact same thing for two different reasons. The melodic rapper's over here doing it because he can't really sing. He's using the auto-tune to his advantage. The R&B artist is trying to stay current because many R&B artists and many pop artists all use auto-tune. It's normal. Both genres of singers both use auto-tune. There's not a single song that I've heard in the last 5 years that doesn't use auto-tune. Somebody can point it out to me. I will give you $1,000 when you do. And auto-tune gets this really bad rep. Using auto-tune is an artistic and stylistic choice. There's nothing wrong with it. As long as if you're a rapper, that's one thing, but if you're a singer and you're mindful and conscious of your performance while you're using that, then who cares? It's your art, it's your song. But, of course, the singer is always going to get the blunt force of it because, if you perform live and you don't sound exactly like your recorded track, you're going to get some criticism. It just comes with the territory. But, the rappers get a little slack because people are like, oh, they're rappers, whatever, we don't care. We just vibing with them. But I still hold them accountable because y'all better sound like y'all's recorded track. I don't care. But, yeah. So let's change gears a bit. Let's get back into our original discussion. So overall, hip-hop artists are kind of looked at and desired more than the R&B artists because they're both kind of doing the same thing. And even today, the R&B production styles are more hip-hop-y influenced. So you have that pocket. Then when you come back over here to the pop artists, they kind of deviate from both. It's not R&B, it's not hip-hop, it's just popish and it's uplifting and jumpy and really preppy-like. But it's not like the pop that we saw or that we can still access from the 80s, the 90s, even the 70s. It's more mashed into this techno retro type of vibe. I can't explain it, but, we see the Weeknd's projects. They're not always, but his latest few projects were like retro 80s, type of vibes. And we see a lot of that, and then we see the techno side of it where it's kind of electro, like, with the 808s, the kicks, the hi-hats, or, the snaps. Like, it's just so many different elements that goes into production, and I don't want to get into that because this video will literally be an hour long. So I'm just going to say the production plays a big part in it too. Like, even Bruno Mars, I'm not gonna just give him a direct label. I don't like labels. I'm just gonna say his music gives me R&B vibes with a touch of pop to it, and even he's getting into that bag of, retro style vibes, from R&B in the 80s and 70s, so with that being said, pop follows the same pocket. R&B follows the same pocket. They both do. Hip hop kind of does its own thing. It kind of reinvents itself every once in a while. But pop, it definitely does follow the same formula as R&B. I call them sister genres because at this point they're not that far off from each other. It's just one genre allows you to use auto-tune and the other one doesn't. But I love pop, but that's my opinion on where music is headed. I think it's headed into one big sound because, as I've just named off these 3 genres, they're all really not that different from each other. And back in the day, these would have been 3 completely different genres. But the fact that you have multiple artists merging through multiple genres and multiple sounds merging through multiple genres, and people are being more versatile, I think it's making it even easier to make this one big sound. And it's not a bad thing. I think this is just paving the way for the future. And before I completely leave this topic alone, I just want to clarify something and get it off my chest because it's been bugging me this whole time. But auto-tune is not pitch correction. Auto-tune is a form of pitch correction that was created back in September 19th of 1997, and it was first used really heavily in Cher's Believe that she released back in 1998. So, moving on from that topic, I want to move into something a little bit more fundamental. So, who has the right to your masters? But before we dive into that, what is your masters even? What is that? So, your masters is your final physical mixed form of your music. So, that wave file that your mastering engineer sends over, unless you just release your rough drafts from your mixing engineer, that form, that physical form, is your masters. Whatever form you upload to Apple Music, Spotify, iTunes, whatever is out there on all streaming platforms, that is your master file, your master recording, and you do own that. And it's the only form between your masters and publishing that you may get to keep 100% of the royalties. But even till then, in some of the licenses, producers can request 1 to 10% of the mechanical royalties, which are known as producer points. But we're not going to get into all of that today because it's super confusing. Now, moving on to the publishing is the lyrics plus the composition. Now, what gets super confusing about that is that, yeah, if you write 100% of the song with no other songwriters, the producer still gets to collect a songwriter share and the publishing rights because they remain ownership over that beat, even if you got the exclusive rights. So just letting all my independent brothers and sisters know that even if you do get the exclusive rights, I know it's great because nobody else can purchase the beat. But even though that you buy the exclusive rights, it could be anywhere from $500 to $1,000 or even more than that. It could be thousands of dollars. The producer still retains ownership of that production. They still get their publishing rights. They still get their songwriter share. And they are still the original author of that copyright work. So you want to watch that when you're buying these exclusive rights. Just keep that in mind that you're not going to get 100% of those royalties. It will have to be split between you, the producers, the songwriters, and whoever else when the publishing is put into play. And, right now it might not matter to a lot of people, but later on when you start getting royalty checks or whatever, it's going to matter. And you want to make sure that you have that in line. That's why I took the time to go through and make sure that I registered all of my producers and artists that I've worked with for royalties, because you don't want to be 10 years down the road. For example, let's just say you have some moderate success and you can pay your bills off of your music. Well, you don't want to be over here 10 years down the road and then you didn't register your producers or your songwriters or whoever else may have assisted you in making your music, and then you didn't pay them their royalties, because now that's 10 years of royalties that you got to pay back, or you could possibly be sued for, plus paying them that back. So you don't want that. And also be mindful that you want to make sure that unnecessary bodies aren't in the room with you in the studio. For one, it's studio etiquette. And for two, you also want to be mindful that they could possibly come after you if you don't pay them for what's due to them. Well, if you're in the studio booth and the engineer's giving you advice on what to put in your song, like, hey man, I think you should say this and not that. If you take their advice, they technically have to be registered as songwriters because they helped you put lyrics in your song. And you really want to be careful with that, because if they do something and you're not putting them down for getting it and you're just getting paid and no one else is getting paid, that's bad, because then you can get caught up. So you really don't want to go down that road. I promise you. I ain't never been down it. I ain't trying to go down it, but I'm pretty sure it ain't good. But to wrap up that topic, that's basically all in a nutshell. Every individual and entity from an independent artist standpoint that could possibly have the rights to the royalties generated from your masters and your publishing. So I hope that helped clear up a little bit of something for you guys. I know it wasn't the best explanation, but if you want to do your further research to further enrich your mind in that section or that sector of the music business, be my guest. I'll be sure to have resources available in the descriptions and on my YouTube pages and my social medias. So just be on the lookout for that and make sure you follow me in the links down below. Okay, so now that we kind of covered the publishing and all of that, moving on from that topic, let's dive right on into our third and final topic of today's episode, which is, should you trust online-based producers that are not in your city and online transactions? Now, I will say that I have met some of the dopest people over the internet. Great people over the internet, but we still have to be leery. We really have to be leery of people over the internet, especially when it comes to money and transactions, and when money's involved, we want to be leery of that. But it's so easy to get caught up. It is so easy to get caught up. And the only reason I'm saying that is because, so what happened was, I'm a quick story time. So back in like 2019 or 18, one of those, around the time I first started music professionally, I was searching YouTube high and low for different beats, that may have been skipped over or just not sought out by, all these other artists. So on my journey or quest of looking for beats, I stumbled across this one producer's channel. I'm not going to put his business out there because I don't want any issues. But as I was going through his channel, I saw a slew of beats that I loved. And when I like beats, I have a tendency to impulse buy. So I always like to go through and do a process of elimination and do the ones that I want from the least to the greatest, and if I have like say 4 to 5 I really want, those are the ones that I go with. But anyways, I found this one beat that I really, really, really wanted Well, this was at the very beginning for me. So when I was on his page, he had his BeatStars link, linked in the bio, like here, buy this beat here. Well, when I clicked on the link, it directed me to his homepage of his BeatStars. It didn't take me to the beat like it usually does. On most people's linked BeatStar accounts to that specific beat. Some people, they link it to their homepage. Some people link it directly to the beat. But in this case, I was assuming that it was linked to his homepage, even though it said buy this beat here. As I went to the page, as I was scrolling through his entire catalog, I could not find his beat anywhere. So he had his contact information, and I emailed him. I DM'd him. He actually responded quicker to the DM. And when he DM'd me back, I was like, hey, where's this beat? That's what I DM'd him. I was like, I can't find this beat, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, hey, bro, like, I actually sold that exclusively to someone. And I was like, oh man, that sucks. Thank you anyways. And he was like, nah, like I can sell it to you now. Like, do you want it? And then I was just like, as much as I wanted to say yes, I said no, I can't do that. That is so unethical. You're not supposed to be reselling it. And that was really dirty of him. And I don't respect people like that, because someone paid their hard-earned money for the exclusive rights to it, and you want to come over here and sell it to me? Nah, bro, I can't do it. I wouldn't want anyone to do it to me, so I'm not going to do it to anyone else. With this music stuff, I'm not going to do anything to anyone that I don't want done directly to me. It's just not right. I couldn't live with myself if I would have did that, because to me, that just really truly shows who you are or who I am as a person. And that's not who I am. I don't steal from people, and that's not right. Even though the producer kind of does still hold ownership, it's just, I can't jigs with it. I can't rock with that, because I've been done dirty so many times in this music thing, and we'll get to that in later episodes. But even though I've been done dirty, I'm still not going to do anybody else dirty. That's not right. I'll tell them what to look out for and to watch out for people like that, but I'm not going to do that to nobody that don't know no better, because that only makes me weak, because I'm doing it to somebody that don't know any better. But I mean, some people feel like you can only charge it to the game, but I kind of don't like that saying, because to me, this sounds a lot like, oh, just let it just flow or let it slide. No, because the moment that you let something like that slide and people walk over you, or the moment that you let people slide and let them think that they can walk over you, they're going to continue to do that. And kind of like Nicki Minaj said with the pickle juice, if she shows up to a show and they offer her pickle juice, and it could be 100 times they give her what she asked for, and then one time that they give her pickle juice, she's done. They're going to continue to give her pickle juice, and they're going to be like, well, you took it the last time. And she's going to be like, well, what about the other 100 times? No, the last time you took pickle juice, that's what we want to give you, so we're giving you pickle juice. Same thing. You have to know your worth in this independent artist thing. It is just like the music industry. It is no different than the music industry. The only difference is that none of us are signed. That is the only difference between the music industry. And being signed only grants you one big loan. That's all everything is in the music industry attached to a label, is one big loan. From the advance money to the invoices that they be charging you behind your back when you don't know. Every studio session comes out of the revenue you generate from your records or albums or whatever. Everything is paid for almost entirely by you, because they simply invest in you. That advance money and that promotion, all of that, they're investing in you. So it's really one big loan. It's like going to a loan shark. And the independent music scene is no different. The only difference is that they can't prey on your debt, because nobody is in charge of your finances but you. At the end of the day, you have the last say so in what's being spent, what funds are going where, what's being spent on what. So since nobody really has access to that now, what producers and engineers, I done saw everybody do it. What they do is they prey on your hunger to be successful and your hunger for recognition, or for you just wanting good quality work for your art to express yourself. They prey on all of that. In or on the independent music scene. They prey on that. They see it. They know it. because you wouldn't be seeking them if you didn't need their services. So sometimes people feel like they can take advantage, but I'm telling you that's all false. Don't let nobody take advantage of you. If you are an independent artist just starting out, you shouldn't be spending, I'm going to say, no, and this is pushing it, no more than $500 on an exclusive license. Producers have sold exclusive licenses to me for less. So that's just my word of advice. If a producer's asking you to spend a band or 2 bands, 3 bands, don't do it. Unless you really know, or you really think, or you know for a fact that you got the gas and the promotion to boost that record to be something great and get all of that back plus some. And even till then, remember what I told you about the publishing. Everybody gets a cut. So just food for thought. And the number one thing that I want to talk about with these online transactions is you need to watch how and where you are paying these people. So let me just say this. Don't be Zelling, Cash Apping. You can PayPal. You can do that. But don't be Zelle and Cash Apping and all them other little third-party cash sending apps, Apple Pay. Don't be using none of them when you paying these producers and engineers. Don't use none of that shit. You know, and to kind of piggyback on what I said about PayPal, even with PayPal, you want to kind of be careful because I've dealt with their customer service before and they are extremely helpful. I've just never dealt with them to that extent with anything musically related or electronically, like as far as beats and stuff like that. So that's why I said just watch them too, because I don't know 100% how that would go as far as you proving that you didn't receive something that you were supposed to and whatever. But the only thing that made me go ahead and say yes that you could use PayPal is that PayPal uses invoices, and an invoice is basically a tab or receipt, you know, digitally that says, hey, we agreed upon, you know, this, I gave this person payment, they gave me a good or a service or product or whatever. And sometimes there are terms that have to be abided by in that invoice. And if they are not followed or fulfilled upon, you can open a claim or dispute on PayPal. And, you know, you could possibly get your money back. But when you go through these third-party apps like your Cash Apps, your Zelles, and Apple Pays, it's really hard to file disputes. I don't even know if you can file disputes. I think someone I knew that got scammed filed a police report. That's how difficult it was. Like, they had to go through a strenuous process just to get like $200 back from getting scammed. So it's really not ideal if you're trying to get a beat or something like that. I would highly recommend BeatStars or some platform of that nature. SoundClick, if people still use that, Airbit. You want to do things like that. You want to stay away from your Cash Apps, and a lot of producers and engineers like to go to those, but I'm here to tell you to stay away from those unless you know the person individually. But even till then, people that you know, when people see money, they get funny. I've had people turn on me before. 95% of the people that have done me dirty in this music thing are people that I knew and built relationships with. So it's not always about you not knowing someone. You just have to really watch your back. But I do recommend BeatStars because it's a much lower risk. It still is a risk. There still is a risk present, but it's a much lower one. So when you make a purchase on BeatStars, they send you an invoice. With that invoice is an electronic link for the licenses, the WAV files, and the track stems if you bought that license for track stems. Now, in the event that track stems are not in there, this has never happened to me, but in the event that it did, you can reach out to the producer. If they say they can't find them or whatever, reach out to customer service. Now, BeatStars says that all sales are final, but I don't know why they wouldn't refund you your money when you clearly didn't get what you asked for. But yeah, that about wraps up everything today, and thank you so much for coming to Creative Sound. I really appreciate you guys. If you happen to be listening to this or tuning in on Apple Music, SoundCloud, Spotify, make sure you like this. Make sure you follow me to stay updated on weekly content every Monday at 8 a.m. If you happen to be on YouTube, please like, comment, share, and subscribe on this video. I would love to know your thoughts down below in the comments. And this is Josiah from Creative Sound. Remember to stay creative, stay safe, and follow your dreams.
Bye.